Welcome! I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. In this explainer, we're going on a highly focused, highly rewarding journey. Our mission? To capture the absolute essentials of David Neven's incredible book, The 100 Simple Secrets of Happy People, in 8 minutes or less. We're going to strip away the noise and look directly at the actual science of what makes life deeply fulfilling.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this right here is the foundation of everything we're about to discuss. This isn't just one person's intuition or, a random collection of motivational quotes. The insights we're unpacking today are the distilled wisdom of over 1,000 rigorous scientific studies on happiness. Researchers have spent decades observing what happy people actually do differently, and we've boiled it down to the most critical takeaways just for you.
But before we get to those secrets, we have to address a massive myth. Are happy people just luckier? So many of us secretly believe that happiness is basically a genetic lottery, right? We think some people are just born with a sunny disposition. Or maybe they somehow manage to ride an unbroken streak of good luck and endless successes, while the rest of us just have to struggle.
Section 1. The Science of Happiness. Breaking down the myth of the lucky life.
When we look at what the actual data says about building a strategy for happiness, it completely changes how you view your own daily experiences. And here is a fascinating number: 2. Surveys show that happy and unhappy people actually tend to have very similar life experiences. They face the exact same kinds of setbacks, the same kinds of daily friction. So what's the difference? Well, the data shows that the average unhappy person spends more than twice as much time dwelling on unpleasant events. It isn't the events themselves, it's the sheer amount of mental real estate we allow those bad events to occupy.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 2, Perspective Changes Everything, How We Choose to View the World.
What's really interesting about this next point is how it shapes our entire reality. A brilliant psychology professor named Harry Gilman taught that so much of what we experience isn't inherently a success or a failure, it's entirely about how we choose to view the world. He actually had a student named Max Lear who constantly struggled with a deep sense of dissatisfaction, largely stemming from a tough relationship with his dad. Gilman wrote this incredibly poignant observation to Max. For some people, there are no victories, just alternate forms of losing. It's a really powerful reminder that a negative mindset acts like a dark filter capable of tainting even the absolute best situations in our lives.
To explain this to his students, Gilman used a fantastic analogy. Sugar, flour, and eggs. Are they good or bad? Well, they aren't either. They're completely neutral raw ingredients. You can take them and make a delicious cake, or you can just make a giant mess on your kitchen counter. And the events in your life are the exact same way. They're neutral ingredients until you actively decide what you're going to make out of them.
And this brilliantly illustrates the choice we have to make every single day. Think about it. A child will always reach for the lollipop. They're operating purely on short-term, immediate gratification. But the logical, long-term perspective, that belongs to the adult watching above who considers things like tooth decay and overall nutrition. We really have to strive to be that adult watching above in our own lives, stepping outside the emotion of the moment to see the long-term implications of how we react.
So, the crucial point is coming up next in Section 3, the 70% rule. What fundamentally drives happiness. We've talked about perspective, but when getting down to the hard science of what actually makes us feel fulfilled, consider this tragicomic story from the research. 2 business partners lost all their money in a massive financial disaster. They blamed each other bitterly and literally didn't speak for over a year. But when they finally met for lunch, they realized the real tragedy wasn't losing the business, it was losing each other. As one of them beautifully put it, money is like a glove. Friendship is like your hand. One is useful, the other essential.
And the data backs this up entirely. Wealth, fancy cars, or a massive salary absolutely do not drive your happiness. Researchers have found that 70% of personal happiness is explained by just 4 core groups: the number and closeness of your friends, your family, your coworkers, and your neighbors. 70%. That's a massive portion of your joy, entirely dependent on your social connections.
Want to bump up those numbers even more? Studies show that simply increasing your community interactions can boost your overall happiness by nearly 30%. Engaging with the people around you isn't just a nice thing to do. It is mathematically one of the most effective strategies you can use for a better life.
Let's move to and see how this builds into Section 4, Strategies for Daily Joy. Rapid-fire practical habits.
Transitioning right from the psychological data, here are 3 essential actions you can integrate into your routine the second this explainer ends. First, share of yourself. Holding feelings inside makes us feel isolated, while sharing creates instant connection. Second, help the next person. Something as minor as holding a door open is a total win-win. It makes them feel seen and boosts your own self-worth. And third, get a hobby. The research highlights people like Elsa, who collects old books. It really doesn't matter what the hobby is. What matters is that it provides your life with consistency, engagement, and most importantly, plain old fun.
Which leads us to secret number 70 from the book. If you could do something right now that makes others happy, makes you happy, and costs absolutely zero time or money, you'd do it, right? Of course. Well, that magical thing is a smile. It communicates a pleasant message and creates this immediate, contagious, positive feedback loop with everyone you encounter. In fact, scientists at the University of California in San Francisco have identified 19 distinct kinds of smiles. It's a deeply embedded, highly nuanced part of our human communication, so use it. It's literally the cheapest and most effective happiness hack in existence.
As we reach section 5, we arrive at the ultimate choice. You are in control.
We've looked at the data, the absolute importance of perspective, the overwhelming value of relationships, and these rapid-fire daily habits of joy. But why does all this data actually matter? It matters because it proves that you are in control. This is Secret 100. What does it all mean? You decide. The research makes it crystal clear that complete, flawless satisfaction just doesn't exist. There's no such thing as a perfect life. But remember, you are the adult watching above. You hold the raw ingredients, the sugar, the flour, the eggs. The world is going to happen to you, but the meaning of your life is entirely yours to construct. So, look at your life right now. What kind of cake are you going to bake today? If you enjoyed this, subscribe to In 8 Minutes and never miss what matters.